Imagine you're hiking through a rainforest. You hear something move in the trees, and then you see it, a 6-foot bird staring directly at you. You have 3 seconds to decide, because this bird has killed before. When most people think of deadly animals, they think of sharks, lions, crocodiles, things with teeth, things with claws, things that look like killing machines. Nobody thinks of birds. And that is exactly why these two species have survived for millions of years while everything around them disappeared. One lives in the jungles of Australia and New Guinea. The other patrols the open grasslands of Africa. They have never met. They share no continent. But they share something far more important, a killing strategy so efficient, so brutal, and so perfectly evolved that scientists still struggle to fully explain it. This is the story of the cassowary and the secretary-bird. Two birds the world forgot about. Two birds the world probably should have paid more attention to. Here's what you were never taught in school. Birds are not the harmless, fragile creatures we made them out to be. They are the direct descendants of theropod dinosaurs, the same family as the T-Rex. We have spent centuries underestimating birds. We put them in cages. We feed them breadcrumbs. We named a basketball team after them, but here is what the fossil record actually tells us. Birds did not evolve from dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. Specifically, they are avian theropods, the same lineage that produced Velociraptor and Tyrannosaurus rex. The only difference is that they survived the extinction event. Everything else didn't. For 66 million years, birds have been quietly evolving, and while most of them became small, non-threatening creatures of the sky, two lineages went in a completely different direction. They got big, they got powerful, and they never lost the instinct to kill. The cassowary has one weapon on each foot that can disembowel a human being in a single kick, and it is completely legal to own one as a pet in parts of the United States. The southern cassowary, Cassowary is the third largest bird on Earth. It stands between 5 and 6 feet tall. It weighs up to 130 pounds, and it moves through dense rainforest at speeds up to 31 miles per hour. But none of that is what makes it dangerous. Look at its feet. On the inner toe of each foot sits a single dagger-like claw, up to 5 inches long, razor sharp, designed not for gripping branches or catching fish, designed for one thing only, slashing. The cassowary doesn't bite. It doesn't chase. It stands its ground, pulls back one powerful leg, and delivers a kick that travels at a force of nearly 200 pounds per square inch. A single kick can shatter bone, rupture organs, and in documented cases sever an artery. In 1926, a 16-year-old boy in Australia was killed by a cassowary after he fell while trying to capture one. The bird finished the job. No remorse, no hesitation. This was not an animal acting out of fear. This was a predator defending territory, which, by the way, covers up to 1.7 square miles of rainforests that it considers entirely its own. Here's the twist. The cassowary is not just a killer. Remove it from the ecosystem and the entire rainforest begins to collapse. This is one of the most important animals alive, and almost nobody knows its name. The cassowary is what ecologists call a keystone species. The rainforests of Queensland and New Guinea depend on it to survive. Here's why. The cassowary eats fruit, enormous quantities of it, over 100 different plant species. And because of its size, it can swallow fruit whole that no other animal in the ecosystem can manage. Fruit with seeds up to 2 inches across. Seeds that cannot germinate unless they pass through the digestive system of a cassowary first, so the bird eats, walks several miles, deposits the seeds in new locations with a ready-made fertilizer package, and the rainforest grows. Take the cassowary out, and those plants stop reproducing. The trees that depended on those plants lose their canopy. Animals that depended on those trees lose their habitat. The entire food web shifts. This is not an exaggeration. Scientists have documented this exact cascade in regions where cassowary populations have dropped. The most dangerous bird in the world is also the rainforest's gardener. It kills to survive, and survives so that everything else can live. That bony helmet on top of its head. Scientists still don't fully agree on what it does, but the latest research suggests something extraordinary. The cassowary may be able to hear sounds that are physically impossible for the human ear to detect. The cassowary's most distinctive feature, that tall, bony crest called a casque, has confused scientists for over a century. Early theories said it was armor for pushing through dense vegetation. Others said it was for display, like a peacock's tail but vertical. Some said it helped regulate temperature. That then came the infrasound theory, and it changed everything. Cassowaries produce calls at extremely low frequencies, some so low they fall below the threshold of human hearing. These are called infrasonic calls, and the casque, researchers now believe, may function as a resonating chamber, amplifying and receiving these low signals. Which means the cassowary may be communicating across vast stretches of rainforests using a frequency that no human ear could ever detect, talking to each other, warning each other, coordinating in a language we only recently discovered existed: an apex predator, a forest engineer, a creature with a sixth sense, and we almost let it go extinct before we understood any of it. There are fewer than 4,000 southern cassowaries left in the wild. The number one cause of death: cars; the second, dogs; the third, humans deliberately destroying the only habitat this animal has ever known. The cassowary has survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, and 66 million years of evolution. It has outlasted species we can barely name, and right now, in the 21st century, it is losing ground to a 4-lane highway and a suburban housing development. The rainforests of northeastern Queensland, the only place on Earth where the southern cassowary lives are being cleared at a rate that conservation biologists describe as catastrophic. The birds that remain are increasingly isolated in fragmented pockets of forest, forced to cross roads to reach mates and food sources. Wildlife carers in Australia report treating dozens of cassowaries every year from vehicle strikes. Most do not survive. The ones that do often can't be released because the territory they came from no longer exists. The creature that built the rainforest, the animal that kept an entire ecosystem alive for millennia, dying on the side of a road because someone was in a hurry. Across the Indian Ocean, in the open savannas of sub-Saharan Africa, there's a bird that walks up to 20 miles a day hunting for food, and its preferred prey one of the most venomous snakes on Earth. If the cassowary is the rainforest's armored tank, the secretary-bird is the savanna's assassin in stilts, Sagittarius serpent. That Latin name translates, roughly, to arrow-bearer who hunts serpents. Scientists named it that for a reason. Standing nearly 5 feet tall with legs that seem anatomically improbable for a bird, long, stork-like, built for walking, not perching, the secretary-bird is unique in the entire avian world. It is a raptor, an eagle-class bird of prey, but it does almost all of its hunting on foot. It walks, it scans, it covers grassland in long, deliberate strides, often 20 miles in a single day. And when it finds something, a lizard, a small mammal, a frog, or, most famously, a snake, it doesn't hesitate. It doesn't circle, it doesn't flee, it stamps the life out of it. High-speed cameras finally captured what scientists had suspected for years. The secretary-bird's kick is so fast, it is over before any nerve signal from the snake's brain can reach its muscles. The snake dies before it even knows it's been hit. In 2016, researchers at the Royal Veterinary College in London used high-speed cameras to finally measure what the secretary-bird's kick actually looks like in real time. What they found was extraordinary. The bird strikes at 15 meters per second. That's over 33 miles per hour in a strike that lasts less than 15 milliseconds. The force delivered is approximately 5 times the bird's own body weight, focused into a point roughly the size of a coin. A venomous snake strike, notoriously the fastest movement of any vertebrate predator, travels at roughly the same speed. But the secretary-bird doesn't try to outrun the snake's reflexes. It attacks with such speed and precision that the snake's nervous system simply cannot respond in time. By the time the venom glands have even received the signal to fire, the skull has already been crushed. The bird steps back, waits briefly to confirm the threat is neutralized, and resumes its patrol. It does this between 6 and 12 times per hunting session, every single day. The name secretary-bird almost certainly came from European colonists who thought the feathers on its head looked like the quill pen's old-fashioned secretaries. Tucked behind their ears, a snake-killing apex predator named after an office worker. Africa could not have cared less. The secretary-bird's appearance is, in a word, theatrical. Long black plumes extend from the back of its head like an elaborate crown. Its face is bright orange, bare skin, vivid and almost reptilian. Its body is gray and white. Its legs are striped black and gray like elegant dress trousers. It looks genuinely like something that was designed by someone who had heard a description of a bird but had never actually seen one. African cultures understandably took it more seriously. In ancient Egypt, the secretary-bird was associated with Nekbet, the vulture goddess who protected pharaohs in battle. Images resembling it appear in hieroglyphics over 3,000 years old. Today, it appears on the coat of arms of both Sudan and South Africa, one of the only birds in the world to be a national symbol of 2 countries. Simultaneously, the Europeans named it after a pet. The Africans put it on their shields. History, as usual, got it right the second time. For all its ferocity, the secretary-bird is one of the few raptors in the world that forms lifelong monogamous pair bonds. The same 2 birds, the same nest, year after year. And if one dies, the other rarely takes another mate. Secretary-birds mate for life. They build enormous flat nests high in the tops of acacia trees, sometimes 4 feet wide and 8 inches deep, returning to the same nest each year, adding new material until the structure becomes a permanent landmark on the savanna. Pairs hunt together during the day and return to their nest together at dusk. They display to each other with elaborate aerial rituals, swooping, circling, calling in voices that sound almost like a frog filtered through a foghorn. They raise 2 to 3 chicks per season, both parents feeding and protecting the young. The male, notably, is not the dominant hunter. Both sexes hunt at equal rates with roughly equal skill. There is no division of labor along gender lines. The secretary bird figured out partnership long before it became a talking point. The most efficient killer on the African savanna, loyal partner, devoted parent, building the same home, year after year, on the same acacia tree, on the same patch of grassland, until the grassland disappears, which, increasingly it is, two birds, two continents, zero connection to each other. And yet right now, in 2024, both are listed as vulnerable to extinction, and both are losing for the exact same reason: us. The secretary bird is classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Its population has declined by over 40% in the past 3 decades. Grassland conversion for agriculture, overgrazing, deliberate persecution by farmers who misidentify it as a threat to livestock, and the global decline of the snake populations it depends on for food. Snakes that are themselves disappearing due to habitat loss and the indiscriminate use of pesticides. The cassowary endangered, the secretary bird vulnerable, both declining, both poorly funded in conservation terms, both almost entirely absent from mainstream wildlife documentaries that focus on lions, elephants, and polar bears. We protect what we know what we see, and for decades neither of these animals has been shown to the world in any meaningful way. They exist in research papers and regional wildlife reports while the cameras point elsewhere. That is what invisibility costs a species. Here is the question no one is asking. If we let these animals disappear, what else disappears with them? And do we even know enough to answer that question before it's too late? The cassowary has been walking the same rainforest for millions of years, long before humans, long before agriculture, long before the concept of a national park or a wildlife fund or a red list with color-coded categories. The secretary bird has been patrolling African grasslands since before the Sahara was a desert, since a time when those grasslands stretched continuously from coast to coast and the bird covered all of it on foot, one deliberate step at a time. These are not new animals. They are ancient ones. They are survivors. They have outlasted extinction events that wiped out entire classes of life on this planet. And the thing that might finally end them is not an asteroid, not a disease, not a predator they can kick or slash or stomp into the ground. It is indifference, the particular human capacity to look at something extraordinary and simply not notice it. The cassowary moves through its rainforest right now, planting seeds with every step, rebuilding a forest that it will never live to see fully grow. The secretary bird patrols its grassland right now, keeping snake populations in check, maintaining a balance that every other creature in the ecosystem quietly depends on. They don't know we're watching. They don't know we've been ignoring them. They're just doing what they've always done, surviving, building, killing, and somehow, against every odd, still here. The only question that matters now, will we be paying attention before they're not? If you made it this far, you now know more about these animals than 99% of the people who've ever lived alongside them. Share this, because attention is the only thing left that can save them. And next time we're going deeper. There are birds on this planet that we haven't even given names to yet, and some of them are even stranger than this.